There was one guy in my class that got mugged 9 times in the first quarter of the year.
Oh my
And he
goodness.
said, okay, this cannot go. So
Yeah.
he demolished all the walls, built a new entrance with cameras, security guards, all of that, and also built his own legend as like a man of discipline. So this would be typically where the story says, and the rest is history, right? The shortest career story that you've had, I think, on Hindsight the podcast. So it's like lots of preparation and then the tiniest career and then my life switched to something completely different.
When you look back in hindsight, everything is 2020. In hindsight, you make mistakes, we're learning from it. In hindsight, yesterday and your tomorrow. In hindsight, is so much clearer now.
Hey, look, you're stuck in a corporate job that doesn't fulfill you, but you're afraid to take the leap and pursue your passions. How do you overcome your fears and find the courage to create a life you love? Well, welcome to Hindsight, the podcast. I'm Lee Jones, your host, and today I'm joined by Sebastian Knight, a successful entrepreneur who left behind a high-paying IT job to follow his dreams of teaching salsa dancing and coaching single men. We'll talk about that one. His journey from the Caribbean island native to international media star is a testament to the power of passion and perseverance. Welcome, Sebastian, to Hindsight. Where are you calling in from this morning?
Hi, I'm currently in Madrid right now.
Oh, shit. I don't usually curse, but that's pretty awesome.
So your morning is actually 6 p.m. for us here. I was meeting with a potential investor this morning for me, which was middle of the night for you.
Hey, look, I'm excited to hear more about your rise to stardom. But before we get there, can you briefly share what it was like growing up in the Caribbean? And remember, this is hindsight, so try and connect some of those lessons learned that you still carry and employ with you today.
Okay, so I grew up in the French Caribbean, tiny island called Guadeloupe. It's only got 300,000 people on the whole island.
Mm-hmm.
You typically shouldn't be able to see it on any world map because it's so tiny. However, it's the only one of the tiny Caribbean islands that is on every world map because it's shaped like a butterfly. So my theory is that the guys that draws the map, they go like big islands, Cuba, Dominica, Haiti, and then they go like dot 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 butterfly dot dot dot.
But
So I grew up on the butterfly. Growing up there was quite different from, I guess, the teenage years of many people that I know in the entrepreneur space. I was chatting today with somebody that was amazed to learn that the high school that I studied in was one of the ones that had the highest rate of like teenage aggression criminality when I got in
oh, wow.
because we
Okay.
were like in a not in the best neighborhood.
Mm-hmm,
And
mm-hmm.
the year that I just joined was so when I was the equivalent, you call that freshman, I think, in the US, they changed the principal. And a new guy came in and he looked at the stats. There was one guy in my class that got mugged 9 times in the first quarter of the year.
Oh my
And he
goodness.
said, okay, this cannot go. So
Yeah.
he demolished all the walls, built a new entrance with cameras, security guards, all of that, and also built his own legend as like a man of discipline. You do not mess with my students. There was one student that got there, they had a silver chain that got
Yeah.
stolen,
Yeah.
and the principal disappeared for 4 hours and came back with the chain and bloody knuckles. Nobody knows. But
This
after
is how
that,
this is how legends are made. Go ahead.
this is how you build a legend. We don't know what happened. What happened though is he turned around the reputation of the place, and by turning that around, it kind of turned out the neighborhood as well
Mm-hmm.
within a couple years. So I was very lucky that this happened while I was a student. And one of the big things he did is he managed to wrestle from government funds to be one of the first high schools there. It was in 1997 to have high speed broadband and to have a
Oh, wow.
dedicated computer room like with really good technology. Of course, there was like bars on the windows and through access
Of
codes to get
course.
in there. But actually, this helps because we created a website for the high school. We actually got selected by the president. as the winners of the national high school like computer science contest that they were doing. So I got
Mm,
to fly to the Bastille Day garden party and meet with the French president in 1999 as a like high school
jeez.
student
Yes, yes.
with a bunch of my friends. And that was, to me, that was momentous because one of the guys that I flew in, who was also working on the high school website, became my best friend of 25 years now,
No.
became my co-founder in a startup that we started 10 years ago.
Mhm,
And like seeing the possibility, like you're just this teenage kid from a place that was going down the wrong road,
mhm.
but like got turned around, and seeing that there is a different way, like a different place you could go with your life.
Yeah.
It got me to decide to be an engineer, um, to do some very tough studies, to go study in France. We have a system that is the French equivalent of Ivy League. They call it Grandes Écoles here. You have to basically, after high school, you do 2 years of preparation, and then you have to pass very tough competitive exams and be ranked in the top few hundred out of several tens of thousands of applicants.
Mm,
I got to do that. And then I went to study in Nantes to become an engineer from École Centrale.
I can almost relate.
Mhm.
I'm not sure how familiar you are with the states, but I grew up in Maryland. I was born in Baltimore City, so it's a city. And most major cities in the United States have its challenges. They have its beauty and its challenges, right? So, in my champion, your champion for you all in that school environment was your principal, which is awesome. And I know mom was like, mom, so she kept getting opportunities for herself, bettering our situation and moving to better neighborhoods, better
Okay.
schooling, things
Trying
like
to
that.
move up in, yeah.
Absolutely. So I definitely can relate to that because I was not a fan of being in that type of environment as a kid over in
Yeah.
the city. So you told me your teacher was a champion. And just really quick, I just want to know what type of, because it looked like everything went perfect for you.
Mhm.
Before 1997, or is that when you said you went there? So before the
Yeah.
principal came,
So they started like turning it around the year that it got there. So I think he got nominated in 1997. So the principal there, and I arrived in 1998 at this
oh,
high
so
school.
you reaped all the benefits.
I
Awesome.
was there. Okay,
That's awesome.
and also, there's I think there's also a little bit of a symbiosis where, and we do this as well as a startup at OneTake AI, about customers, where if you're, so as a company, if
Mhm.
you have customers that start to be very successful, putting their face forward and telling their story helps you grow your business. And
Yeah.
for them, the fact that you're growing the business helps them as well with the results they were getting with whatever the product was. And here
Yeah.
was the same thing, meaning as a student, I got to reap the benefits of him turning around the high school. However, all of the, like, he had these few star students who, because of our like academic achievements, like getting to win the presidential contest, those were also
Feeds in.
things that he used as a way to
Mhm.
show, you see, this place is the place to go, so that he would get more, I get government money for the school, but also like that, so that students would consider going to this high school instead of
Yeah.
others. And so it was like a win-win in a way, I guess.
Mm. Awesome. Yeah, I didn't do anything to make Baltimore better, so you got me there. Hey, so you
Nothing
were
that you
you were
know
in
of, but just mentioning it on a podcast is also a way of like raising awareness about the city.
there you go. Absolutely. Hey, so you were an engineer,
Yes.
an IT engineer. What did you do? Tell me about that career. And then, so tell me about that career, and I'm gonna let you just keep running along. And then, what made you quit that perfect job? I must from the outside looking in, that perfect job to pursue your passions.
So
So
this is
you
going
go
to
ahead and
be
take it away.
shortest career story that you've had, I think, on hindsight the podcast. So it's like lots of preparation and then the tiniest career. And then I like switched to something completely different. So the lots of preparation part was basically to get to where I wanted to be, like professionally. You have to do 3 stellar years of high school. So you can get
Okay.
selected into the preparatory classes, which I did mine in Bordeaux. I went to Lycée Montaigne, so one of the top prestigious ones that were not in Paris. And the reason
Mhm.
I chose this one, like I spoke with my parents, is this is a very cutthroat environment typically if you're in
Okay.
Paris, like with student suicide, stuff like that. That's really, really high stakes. But the one in Bordeaux and one in Toulouse, Fermat, were kind of same level, but not with the vibe that you have to succeed at the expense of the other students. So first
Okay.
class that you actually get, when I got there in Lycée Montaigne, they said, okay, guys, look, this is a class of 32 people from everywhere in France, and then a couple of people from other countries that qualified to be here, like Morocco or whatever. And it said, here, you're not competing against the other 31 people here. You're competing against all of those other preparatory classes, the ones in Paris as well. They are competing
Okay.
amongst themselves, but we are competing against them. So we should have like esprit de corps to go beat these
Yeah.
guys. So that was more the mindset I was looking for. But you have to do like 2 very tough years of that and then pass the exam, get selected, and then 3 years of actual engineer school. So you have to sustain the dedication over those 8 years to go get the degree. And when I got the degree, I knew
Yes.
which company I wanted to work in. They were at the time called Unilog. They merged with Logica and then CMG. They're like the biggest engineering services company in Europe, probably one of the biggest in the world by now.
Mhm.
And I knew I wanted to work there. I knew like which role I wanted to do, how I wanted to climb the ranks. I know which salary I wanted. And when I graduated, I got all of that. And
Mhm.
within 4 weeks, I was miserable. Like,
Mm.
because li- try to imagine if you feel miserable in your job, but it's not the job title or position you wanted. You can always think, well, maybe I need to move up or change companies. If you're in the right job but the company is wrong, you're like, maybe I should be hired by a competitor. If you're in the right job, right position, but your salary sucks, maybe you think, well, I need to ask for a raise or negotiate
Yeah.
better. If you're like exactly where you wanted, there's
Yeah.
nothing that went wrong on paper, but you just find that after 4 weeks you hate it. There's
Wow.
there is no exit.
Yeah.
And so that my career there was
It's
after week 4, I was like, oh my God, is this going to be my life? Where I have
yeah.
to leave my home before sunrise to go. I had like maybe a 45-minute hour commute to get there,
Mm.
work under artificial lights for somebody else in this very impersonal company. So you have like hundreds of thousands of people there. I was working at the time so I have an NDA, and it's very funny because the NDA says I cannot say which was the client that we were working for. And it was a very large French national railroad company.
Okay.
What's funny is that there's only one company in France. But the reason I got all of the computers and websites and things like that, and secret, do not say. The reason I got into this was connecting people. So as a student, the projects that I built when I was a student, sorry, back in 2003, I built software that enabled you to chat and call your friends from your computer on the network of the student's residence. So it had all the features that later you could find in MSN Messenger and then
Mhm.
Skype and other tools. I had built that back then because I was so excited. Like, this is our chance, connecting people through the internet. And now I was working on how to check payments on the credit card when somebody's buying the train ticket. It was
Mm.
not what I wanted
Challenge.
to be
Yeah.
doing. And so the hours, the impersonal aspect of the work, it was just very drudging work. There's something wrong when you notice that on Fridays, people show up at like half an hour late for the 9-hour shift. So they arrive at 9:30. They take their first coffee break at 9:45, which lasts until 10:15. And then they take the second coffee break at 10:45. which lasts until 11:30, which is almost lunchtime. So they go to lunch, and lunch is like sometimes 3 hours. You can tell that something's wrong when spending 6 hours of their day trying to avoid being in the actual office in front of the actual computer because it's such
Yeah.
pain for them. And
Wow.
I was feeling that, but the whole team was like that. So after 4 months, I couldn't handle it anymore. And
Mhm,
so I called my parents on my half birthday. So my birthday is 29th of March. My
mhm.
half birthday, 29th of September. And
Okay.
so I had the call. So the call goes like this. Hi, mom. I want to talk to you about something. Look, I've been working at this company, as I mentioned before. I'm really
Mhm.
miserable there. So I think I'm going to quit and start my own business. Mom? Mm. Dad! Hey, hi, Dad. How you doing? So, Dad, as I was telling Mom,
That's a hard conversation.
tough
That's a
conversation.
hard for your parents to have to llisten to. So how was their we know how your mom's response was. How
Was
was your
great.
dad's
The
response?
response was, "I don't wanna deal with this shit. Come
Yeah,
talk."
yeah.
So, it was hard for 2 reasons. First, because they had invested a lot in sending their son
Yeah,
across the Atlantic to go study. The French system is not as expensive as the American system for becoming an engineer, but still
yeah.
it's a substantial amount because I was also not living with them and all of that. The second reason was my dad was the first engineer of the entire family. I have a large extended family of uncles and aunts. So there's 8 brothers and sisters on my dad's side, 8 brothers and sisters on my mom's side. We are
Mhm.
only 4 generation removes from when the slaves were freed. So my
Wow.
grandpa's grandma was freed when they freed the slaves in like nobody is an entrepreneur there. Nobody had done these high level studies. My dad was the first engineer, had to get there by the skin of his teeth and all of his efforts. And so for him to see me renounce like such a good position was difficult for the family, like the large family as a unit,
Mm,
it felt like, okay, so the most, and I'm saying that with humility, but that's how they conveyed it to me. They were saying, okay, we had like this I'm one of the eldest cousins out of all the cousins, and I was very successful in school. So they felt if the most accomplished student of the entire family can't handle this, like, what does it mean for the other kids?
mm.
So I didn't only need to sell my family, I want to start this business. I also needed to sell them. It doesn't mean anything for the other kids. Like, do good studies and get the job that you want. It doesn't mean anything for anybody else. So that was an interesting conversation to have. So I didn't get to only have it with my dad and mom. I had it to everyone.
So that sounds like a very hard conversation, and were you answer this really quick because I'm thinking about me and me having to have this conversation. Did it take you a while to build up to having this conversation? Was it, like, stressful for you knowing that you had to convey this to your family who's everybody's probably looking up to you, and right? But was it hard for you to mentally get yourself prepared to have this conversation? And how long did it take you from that 4-week period of realizing this is not what I want to do to
Mhm.
actually leaving that job and having the conversation as well?
It was hard, but not because, so I'll say something to my father's and mother's credit. They never cared about other people's external opinions. So they
Yeah,
didn't care, like, what will so and so think if our son does this? They didn't care about that at all.
that's
They
beautiful. That's perfect.
always believed, for me and my sisters, I have two younger sisters, always believed that whatever we set our minds to, we could accomplish it. And we've had three very different careers. So the oldest of my two sisters, she's also right now a very accomplished entrepreneur, but she quit a job that had nothing to do with it. She was supposed to be OBGYN,
Okay.
studied medicine to do that. And then one day she said, no, she was going to have her first son. And she said, I don't want to raise my son as an employee. I want to own my own business and give him the future that I want.
Mm,
So she quit and she's now like super successful interior designer. And so they always wanted to help us achieve what we were sure we wanted to achieve. So that was,
Right.
I was not so afraid of having that conversation because I knew there's always a way we can work this out. What was the scariest for me was at the beginning, I didn't have any exit in mind. I just knew I want to quit
Mm.
this place. And I know that the reasons why I want to quit this place probably make me ineligible to go to another place because it's going to
Mhm.
be the same hours. The salary is not a problem. Like the things that I didn't like here, I feel like there's no other place that I'm going to like how it's set up. And so
Yeah.
it took me a long time to try to figure this out. And what happened, there was a trigger moment that happened completely by accident.
Mhm.
I went to do a job interview at Microsoft, and
Mhm.
I had this job interview at 7 a.m. And here I am on my computer. It's like 1:30 in the morning, just like
Mhm.
surfing the internet. I'm like, oh my God, I'm gonna need to sleep at some point. And
Yeah.
I hate like waking up super early. I'm gonna be like so tired at the interview. It's gonna be terrible. So I
Yeah.
Googled how to wake up early. I'm not kidding. And the first result at the time was a blog from, it was one of the largest personal development blogs on the internet at the time and still probably today,
Mhm.
stevepavlina.com. And this guy has an article like with a cool trick where you program your brain to like the next morning so that the next morning you can jump out of bed and be full of energy. And so I did his thing. It's like a 30-minute routine, very fun. The next day, I was on fire for the Microsoft interview. I mastered it.
Mhm.
He gave me a job offer. But I was surfing on this guy's website because I found it interesting. And he
Yeah.
had another article that was top rated. And this one was called 10 Reasons You Should Never Get a Job. And I was like, I just got a job offer from Microsoft. So why are you telling me I shouldn't get a job? And I read that,
Right.
and his article was extolling the benefits of becoming an entrepreneur. Like, even if you're scared and you think that job security is important. And he's like, well, the only way you can be sure you're never going to be fired is if you're the boss. So
Yeah.
that's one point for entrepreneurship versus being an employee. And he had this
Yeah.
whole list like, if you're an employee, then maybe there's a grid of how far you can take your salary. But if you're the owner, then there's no limit to your income. And I sat there with this article for the entire day, just like reading it, rereading it. And it triggered something in me. I had never considered being an entrepreneur, but I could see that everything that I felt was wrong with that job. The
Wow.
solution was, let's make my own way. Now, when I told that to my parents on the phone, my dad was
Yeah.
he's an engineer, so he thinks like an engineer. He just asked a very simple question. He was like, okay, so you want to quit your job, start a company, that's fine. What's the company gonna be about? And I'm like, huh, hadn't thought of that yet. Have no idea. So you're quitting
Yeah.
like really well paid engineer job and you have no idea
Yeah.
what you're quitting it for, basically. So what I did is we talked more and I negotiated the following agreement. I said, within the year, September 29th, 2006 to December 29th, 2007, that's the deadline. Within a year,
Mhm.
I will have started the business. It will be viable, it
Mhm.
will be profitable,
Mhm.
and I will be earning at least as much as I was earning as a engineer, or I will go back to Unilog and beg for my job back. And I had fair confidence. If you have confidence in your skills, I had confidence that coming back and saying, I went and built a business for a year, and now
Mhm.
I'm ready to go back, this was going to be fine. I would be able to get it. Today, I wouldn't be able, like, because today it's been, I don't know, 20 years that I graduated as an engineer. I've been a business owner since then. I had several businesses. Today, I run an AI startup, but I probably couldn't apply to Microsoft again just because they would say, well, you do not have 20 years of engineering experience. So I would not get a job at Microsoft now, but I
Yeah.
could grow my company to be as big as Microsoft. That's what we're going for. So I made this promise, basically. I will get there within a year or I'll go back to Unilog. It was a very tough year. The first 3 months of that year were me in a sofa watching like DivX movies on my computer,
Mhm.
trying to think of a company I could start. That lasted for a while.
Mhm.
And then what happens is the French government does not like you to be unemployed because it screws up their statistics. So if you are on the list of unemployed people, they force you to go through like appointments with counselors that kind of help you. And I went there and I said, I'm not unemployed looking for a job. I'm unemployed looking to start a business.
Right.
First guy I met said, well, you know what you should do? While you're thinking of starting your business, you should go work at McDonald's. Yeah, you should do that. And he tried to sell me on this job listing that was 30 hours a week, minimum wage. They call you every night to tell you what hours you're going to work tomorrow.
No,
Um,
it's bad.
and and he said, this is a great deal. So, and I said, I'm not going to do that. I'm not even going to go to the job interview, which in France
Yeah.
you cannot do. So I was sent another letter to go see another guy. And they said, like, legally, you cannot not go to job interviews if you're unemployed. You cannot do that. Otherwise, they will strike your name from the unemployed people's list so they can say there's less people unemployed, even though now you're unemployed and not and cannot even look for a job, whatever. So I went to the second guy and I told the same story. I'm going to start a business. I'm still trying to find an idea. And he said, did nobody tell you that like we actually pay for consultants to help you do this? I said, no. And basically, the French government at the time, I think they still do it today, they pay for you to go see a business consultant to help you start your business. So they pay for
Mm,
10 like consulting meetings with them. And the guy that I met was amazing. And he
mm,
said, look, we're going to do something we call the Express Business Plan. And this was like I've written books about entrepreneurships. This is probably one of the most valuable things I've ever learned about starting a business. The Express Business Plan. You can take a sheet of paper or Excel or Google spreadsheet and you go like this. You do 12 columns, which is a year, January, February, blah, 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 blah. And then you go one line per thing that you know to do that maybe people might pay you money for. And so he
mm,
says, "Oh, what do you know how to do?" And I say, well, I do not want to work as a developer, but I could find only three things that I knew how to do. That one was I had a music website that I started in 2001, where initially I was putting my own music. And back then, there was no Spotify, there was no YouTube, there was no way for musicians to host their music online. So other musicians had reached out to me saying, can you put our music on your website? And their music was much better than mine. So I stopped doing music. That was really sad. But the website became quite big and it was
uh-huh,
starting to earn like $20 a month in advertising. And so I said, I could maybe grow the website and have more ads and get more revenue. So he said, okay, music site. That's one line. What else? I said, I can dance salsa. I learned that. I placed finalist with the Dublin International Salsa Contest. I could teach salsa. I said, okay, salsa
mm,
classes. Line number two. What else? I said, I used to be a very shy person. I had a blog at the time that became very popular because one day I decided to not be a shy person and I was just
mm,
talking to random people on the street, in the bus, on the campus when I was a student. And it turns out that this blog, Seduction by Night, Night being my last name, seductionbynight.com, doesn't exist anymore. At the time, it was in the top three results in Google when you typed seduction. And as a result, every day there were people in the comments on my blog saying, hey, can I buy you coffee and you can give me tips? It's because there's this coworker that I really like and I would like to know like how to approach them.
mm,
And so I said, well, maybe I could start giving like workshops and talk about like how I overcome being a shy person and help other people that were in the same situation. And he said, okay, cool. Dating advice, third line. That's good. You have 3 lines, 12 columns. Now, here's the key of the Express Business Plan. You need to start from the end. The end is how much do you want to earn? And so at the time, the euro was worth a lot more than the dollar. So maybe like $2. I needed to make 3,000 euros a month to have like really, really good salary. That would be the equivalent of today, probably six-figure salary in US dollars. But back then. And so I said, so if I make 3,000 per month after taxes, I'm golden. And I reach my goal of being paid as much as I would as an engineer. He said, fine. So basically, what you're going to do is in each sale, so for the month of January, how much do you expect to be earning from the salsa classes and the music website and the dating advice? And you put those numbers. And of course, it's just a projection. You're trying to figure
Mhm.
things out. However, there's one rule: the total has to add up to at least whatever you decided you wanted to earn. And that was huge because in the last 12 years, I ran a business called the Free Entrepreneurs Movement. We helped
Mhm.
300,000 people in 41 countries start and grow their businesses. And so from that coaching, I can tell you that most entrepreneurs do it the other way. They're like, well, I know how to do this. I'm going to try. I'm going to sell the product for whatever price, and we'll see how much I can earn. And typically, how
Yeah.
much you can earn in this case is zero. If you start from the end and you go, okay, I did it very like simply. I was like, okay, I need to earn 3,000. So, and I have three things I know how to do. So each one should do 1,000 every month.
Yeah.
Okay, the website is earning $25. I only need only. It's a very tiny only. I only need to multiply its ads performance by 40, and I'm gonna earn 1,000 a month. And so every day I started like testing new placements, new ad colors, improving the SEO. And within a year, I did get this performance. And then very
Okay.
fast I got to, it was earning me at the end, I was earning like 30 grand a year passively just from the ads on that website. So for the salsa classes, I was like, okay, I can charge maybe $5 to $10 per class. So I need 1,000 a month. So I would need to sell 100 classes a month, blah, blah, blah. And I made the math like this. And for the dating advice, I said, well, if I can sell a workshop for $100, I need 10 students. That didn't work, by the way.
So
Yeah,
that didn't work. Okay.
that didn't work. That didn't work at all. My first workshop was 3 days,
Yeah.
but I had two people that signed up. They didn't come with the excuse, the train, one was late for the train, was whatever. And then I raised the price to 300, and that worked because
Yeah.
people had to deposit some money before they came. And
Right.
then I raised the price to 400 and then 2,500. And I even did workshops for 8,000 with that business over time. But having this very simple way of thinking that whatever I do, the prices I choose and how many clients I'm going to get needs to add up to the income that I want to be paid. That was the trick that got me to understand how the business needed to start. This was getting very close to the end of the year I had promised. I had 3 months left, but then I started working on those. And then I actually went to incorporate, well, not incorporate, to register as in the US, I think you'd say independent contractor, like a company, a one-man company where you
Okay.
are the company.
Sole proprietor, something like that.
Yeah, I had
Yeah.
to do that because I couldn't cash the checks. Like I had people that signed up for the classes and workshops, and I said, give me a check because I couldn't do it on my own account. And so I went to a first bank and I said, I'm gonna start a business soon. I'm gonna be a salsa teacher and a teaching coach. And they're like, huh. They laughed me out of the room. They said, no, we're not giving you a bank account. I went to another, yeah, literally. I went to the bank like across the plaza. I went to the other bank, and this time I was smarter. I filled up with checks. And I said, I've got checks for a few thousand and I want to deposit them and I don't have an account for this business I want to start. And he said, welcome. Let's get this
Money
started right
talks.
now. Yes. So I couldn't start the company on September 29th because it was a Saturday. So I was 2 days late by starting it on October 1st. My parents
Yeah.
forgave me for not keeping my promise by 2 days. That was fine. And that's when I started this business. Literally, I was doing these three things: the website, the salsa classes, the dating advice, and so this would be typically where the story says, and the story and the rest is history, right? Can I tell the flip side of that?
Flip it.
Okay. So I do this on October 1st of 2007. The goal
Mhm.
is 3,000 a month. And the
Yeah.
first month, I am making like 3,003. The next month
Mhm.
I made, and I'm talking like net after everything in my pocket. The
Yeah.
next month I make like 2,997. And then the third month I make like 3,005. I'm like, this is going perfect. Like my life could not be
Yeah.
there was one concept that I didn't know about. This concept is pent-up demand. What happens is, so I had this, as I said, I had this blog. It was getting a lot of traffic. People
Yeah.
were leaving comments saying, I want personalized help. Like, can I have a conversation with you? I'd like to pay for some coaching or whatever. And so when I started offering this as coaching or workshops, there were already people waiting to buy, which is one of the secrets of launching a business. You want people to be queuing in front of the business when you open the doors for
Mm.
the first time. You don't want to be hunting. So that was
Yeah.
great. However, I was not hunting and I was terrible at sales and marketing. I'm a computer engineer by
Yeah.
training and by trade. So at
Right.
that point, what happens is people are emailing me and saying, "I want to attend the workshop. I just have a few questions." And and when I answer the questions, they disappear. They don't join. So I'm like, there's
Mm.
something I do that takes a paying person that has credit card in hand and turns them into uninterested. So that was really painful because for the whole month of January at this point, I'm not making a single sign up, like not one new student, not one new salsa dance student. I was really struggling. And I'm like, I need to learn a new skill that I didn't have at the time, which
Mhm.
is marketing. And I was very lucky
Okay.
that I found the right sources at the time for advice. I was signed up to a few newsletters,
Mhm.
and I was signed up to a newsletter from Californian internet marketer called
Mm.
Frank Kern. And
Okay.
right that month of January, he was doing an internet product launch for a course, and I'm reading all of his podcasts and his videos and his emails. I'm like, this guy knows marketing. He's made millions on the internet. He's helped
Mm.
like American dating coaches grow their business to millions. I need to buy his course. And he launches on February 4th, 2008. And he says, I'm going to open the doors at whatever time, Pacific time. The seats are going to go fast. You need to be there to buy. And I'm telling the story to a friend. I'm like chatting with him at a restaurant, and I'm saying, well, I'm going to sign up to this course. And he says, wait, what time do you say it opens? And I'm like, yeah, it opens at 10 a.m. Pacific. And he's like, 10 a.m. Pacific. But right now it's 6:50 French time. It's in 10 minutes. I'm like, what? I literally ran out of the restaurant. Like I threw a 10 or 20 bill on the table. I ran out of the restaurant without eating a dessert. I ran home. I didn't have time to take any kind of transport. I ran home, got in front of the computer at 10:05 Pacific time, and I log
Yeah.
onto the sign up page and it says sold out. All of the seats for this training are gone. And I'm like, this
Wow.
is not possible because I need this. So
Yeah.
I tried every link on his website. I went back to the newsletter, emails from his affiliates, and I found a link that when I click it, it doesn't lead to the sales page. It
Mhm.
doesn't lead to the enrollment page. It leads straight to the secure payment page from the bank that has
Yeah.
card
Yeah.
number, date, and just straight there. And it's for $2,000. And I'm looking at it, and $2,000 is all the money that is left on my bank account. And it is 3 months of my rent. So I can either have 3 months, be able to pay 3 months rent, or buy this course, and I cannot make rent for the next month. And the course is sold out. So I don't know, like, if I put in my credit card, will my money just vanish into the cyberspace?
Mm.
And will
Mhm.
this guy even know that I paid? Because like there is no like link for him
Yeah.
maybe to open the access to the course. So maybe I'm gonna pay and he's not gonna know that I'm a customer.
Yeah.
I'm gonna just lose the money. And I looked at it, I stayed there for a while, just like everything filled out and I couldn't
Yeah.
click the buy button. And the way I thought was the way things are going currently, in 3 months, I will be at zero anyway. I will have no more money to pay the rent in 3 months anyway. And in 3 months, I will not have the course. I will not have the skills that I need to do the marketing. So the way I saw the choice was either I take
Sure.
the jump now, and this guy has a money back guarantee. So I can choose to be the best student of this course and put everything to use. And if it doesn't work, I'll ask for a refund. Or I will stay scared, and in 3 months, I'm broke anyway. So I entered the credit card, I clicked the submit button, it did do, and then I arrived on a page that said 502 server error. And my credit card had indeed been charged for it. So right now I'm $2,000 poorer, and I'm on a
Yeah.
page that says this website is not working. And so I had an intense few hours of panic until I
Yeah.
got an email from Frank that said, "Hey everyone, I'm sorry, like the website got slammed. We had so many people sign up that they crashed the entire website. So everybody that
Okay.
signed up, just wait for a few hours." And they put it back up. I did get my access in the end. I got course materials. And the first thing you got, I don't think he sells his course anymore, but the first thing you got when you bought his course was, even before module 1, he said, do this first. If you have a list of leads, here's a method he called the 4-day cash machine. And you need to run this campaign to your list of leads now to try to make back some of your investment. At that time, I had 400 people that on my blog had entered their emails to get the article. So I had 400 leads, right?
Yeah.
Potential clients. And I took the emails, I translated them myself. There was no online services, no Google Translate, no DeepL. I had to translate to French myself. I customized it. I made the offer for a workshop, and I started sending. So I bought, I think, on the Saturday. I started sending on Sunday. And so within 5 days, by February 9th, I had made back my investment in the course. I had made $2,500 from running this campaign to those 400 people subscribing on my blog. So I had made my money back. Even I had module 1 had not started yet. And what's funny is in the recordings, if anyone's listening to this ever like listens to like Frank Kern's classes, like in the recordings, when he did the first coaching call, he starts the call by saying, "Hey everyone, welcome, blah blah. I hope that you did the module that I sent with the campaign. There's a crazy guy from France. He didn't make his money back." And actually, the crazy guy from France is me. So this started a snowball effect
Yeah.
because I did this campaign. It filled the workshop with 8 people. I did it the second time. It filled it with 16 people. And then a French magazine, Paris Match, which is like very wide distribution magazine, came to the next workshop where I had 30 people. They came to do pictures and do like basically a paper article. I had full page in there. And then I bought another class from someone who's become afterwards a friend and a good mentor, Jeff Walker. He's been mentioned in Forbes as the $400 million man, business mentor, author of a New York Times bestselling book on how to launch products. And I bought this guy's course and I said, okay, I'm going to use this method to launch my business from this 2,000 euros a month, right? Good salary level to being
Yeah.
bigger. And when I took the advice there of the whole advice, if I can share it, is basically the idea that instead of working in your garage on for X months or years on a product or service or idea, and then showing up to say, who wants to buy it? What you want to do is the opposite. You want to pre-launch it by finding an audience of people, figuring out what they want, what they need, what are their problems. And he had this framework on figuring out which offer would these people want to buy, at which price. And then you can pre-sell this to them. So I did that. And while I was doing that, like this preparation, I went from 400 people on my email list to
Mhm.
17,000. So I had taken a year to go from 0 to 400, and then 3 months,
17,000.
1,000 people reading my emails. I'm launching this new
Wow.
program, and I made the first day that I opened the sales, I made 16 grand, which was twice as much as I made the year before, 2007. It grew my business significantly to the point where I was at a seminar with a friend and I'm telling him this, and he's like, "Oh, you should do something awesome to celebrate like this launch. It's something crazy, like rent the Eiffel Tower." And I'm like, "David, you cannot rent the Eiffel Tower." And David
Yeah.
goes, "Have you tried?" And so it turns out, my friend Lee Jones, it turns out that you can rent the Eiffel Tower. And I did. My
Yeah.
first seminar, I rented the Eiffel Tower for it. So it was held on the first floor of the Eiffel
Uh,
Tower. It is not cheap. I would not recommend that as a smart business move. It was the kind of thing you do when you're at this point. I'm 23. The business is firing on all cylinders. Several TV networks came and did like interviews with me, and what happened is the biggest French TV network is TF1. They sent a team to do a hidden camera expose on my seminars and my coaching. So they came to the seminar, they
mhm.
followed me during a workshop with a client. I've interviewed clients, and the guy that they were following, so single guy wants to find the love of his life. While I was coaching him during the workshop, it was so successful. He met his girlfriend there, and so the this like TV segment, it's like you have 60 minutes, I think, in the US,
Mhm.
right? Something like this. It's a similar format as 60 Minutes, investigative report, basically.
Yeah.
And actually, they were investigating like the seduction coach, so me, dating apps, well, dating websites like
Mhm.
Match.com. And the third option in the same TV segment was people who do like pasta dinners for single people, like it's the
Mm.
opportunity of a single people.
Okay.
And the only the only people that actually got to meet someone were my students. So pasta dinner thing didn't work out for the people in the expose. The people
Yeah.
on the websites were like, "Ah, I can never find someone on those websites," but my students did. So what happened is this TV segment, they played it for years and years because it was very popular. I also used it in my on my website, like as a sales funnel tool, basically.
Right.
And yeah, that blew up the business like significantly. So that's how
Mm.
I became the French, the movie with Will Smith, Hitch. At that. That's
Abs
not at all
uh,
what I do today, but that's how I got famous now.
well, that's how you got famous, and that was one of the things I prefaced in the intro. All right, Sebastian, you made this really easy. I didn't really have to ask you many questions at all, and you you've given such an inspirational chronicle of your journey, of your professional journey, and you've given some powerful, to me, some powerful lessons.
Mhm.
One, don't be scared. One, understanding what your weaknesses are in acting on that, right? One, just taking advice, seeking out mentors. And somewhere your father was one, obviously, and then you sought out these other mentors that helped you fill in the gaps or the spaces. Because when you get into this thing, you don't know what you don't know, and you'd
Right.
rather try to mitigate that crash, before it happens, right? So understanding that, man, I'm just sitting there listening, and that 3,000 to 17,000, like, that's crazy. But
Same.
one thing I did wanna say was happy belated half birthday.
Thank
Since
you.
I never did a half birthday before, so Imma keep that in mind now,
Thank
and
you.
I definitely know when yours is.
I
Uh,
still do that
so
with my daughter. We celebrate her half birthday. We have a half cake. We try to have
oh,
a as well. She loves it. Yeah, she's 7 now, but we celebrated her 6.5 birthday this spring.
yeah, so that's a good practice for all these young families that have these young kids and their birthdays are on Christmas or New Year, something like that. Give them another one so they can have a true birthday, even though it's considered a half birthday. I love it. Hey, salsa. Imma go to salsa because all this other stuff, you're an engineer, you got OneTake AI, you did all these crazy things, music sites and stuff like that before it was popular. Salsa,
Yeah.
what led you to salsa? And it sounds like you can do a lot of damn things, and I think I may, use you as a mentor, so I may call you later if you're not busy, right? Because you've done so many things, right? But salsa dancing and being able to grow that business. What are I don't even care about growing a business right now. When your pupils come in and we're starting to learn how to do salsa, what
Okay.
are 3 essential things, 3 parts to salsa that you just absolutely have to know?
As a student, you mean?
As a student, not you.
Okay.
You know it all.
Okay.
You teach it. You growing up numbers from 1 to
So,
150.
I would also like so I'm gonna answer that because I think it's an interesting question. It's the first time I've been asked this. And also, after that, I would also like to share so there's 2 things that I learned when I was growing the salsa business have helped me grow. Right now I have a tech startup, so I'm going an AI business. So it's
Mhm,
incredibly different. But there's 2 lessons from the salsa business that I have applied to grow this current business, OneTake AI. So right now we have a business that's valued at several million dollars thanks
mhm,
to how I did these classes in a bar back then in Nantes. I used to teach my friends a class that was called How to Fake That You're a Great Salsa Dancer in 45 minutes or less, even if you have 2 left feet. So I can give you some advice from that class. So ladies, if you see Lee Jones at a salsa club, now you will know where he got his moves. The first trick of salsa. So, and when I dance with a beginner female dancer, oftentimes I tell them like there's only 4 things as the follower, so the female dancer in salsa, that she
mhm,
needs to keep in mind. The first is always smile. 2 reasons. First reason
mhm.
is, well, you're there to have fun. So
Yeah,
this is the same for the guy. So
yeah.
if you keep your frowny face because you're focusing on your feet and you're looking at your feet and you're like that, A, you're not gonna have a great time. B, the person
Mhm.
dancing with you is not gonna have a great time. So stay
Right.
smile. Rule number 2 is you don't stop. So salsa has this rhythm that goes for most salsa styles is 1, 2, 3, 5, 6, 7 because Cubans don't count. I'm sorry. That's guys. What happened with 4 and 8? I don't know, but it's like this. So you go uno, dos, tres, cinco, seis, siete. Okay. What happens as a beginner? You will inevitably lose track from time to time and move your left foot instead of your right foot or whatever. Instead of just being like stuck and frozen like deer in headlights on the
Right.
dance floor, just keep moving along the music. You'll get back there. And it's easier for the female dancer as well because the if you dancing with somebody that knows his stuff, he's gonna get you back into the rhythm. So as long as you
Okay.
keep moving your feet. And if you combine these first 2 rules, then what happens is if you go, and this is actually an advanced dancer trick, don't you, it is fine to lose the timing of the music as long as you get back to it at some point. And the
Mhm.
best dancers, we don't go 1, 2, 3, 5, 6, 7 all the time. Sometimes there's like a drum solo or piano solo, and we go pam pam, and then back to 1. And so if
Right.
you do the first 2 rules, people around, even though actually what happened is you stumbled and you were like bum 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 bum, oh shit, bum, 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 bum. People who are
Yeah.
looking, they're like, wow, I, I didn't know this move. This is awesome. And since you're smiling, you look like you know what's happening.
Yeah.
Even
Yeah,
though
yeah,
in your
yeah.
mind you're like, oh my god, where is the one? I'm looking for the one. The- Okay, so first two
Oh,
rules, how you look like a confident dancer, and also how you give the other dancer a good time, which is important.
yeah.
So as the lead, I consider it like my responsibility that the follower, which is the female dancer, has a
Mhm.
good time. That's my priority. I don't care about anybody else.
Okay.
And then, like a second priority is for her to be able to show off her moves if she wants, right? But we're not dancing for other
Mm.
people. We're dancing for each other. And then
Yeah.
rules 3 and 4 are more for the follower. I call them the safety rules. So because we are holding hands, and
Yeah.
3 is if I let go of your hand, that was on purpose. Let go of mine, because otherwise we might tangled, especially in Cuban salsa, it's like important for your survival. Rule number 4 is if I'm still holding your hand, don't let go because there are some movements where you're giving some momentum to the dancer, to the other dancer.
Mm,
And if she lets go at that point, she's going to end up
go
in the
flying. Yeah.
bar, like breaking some bottles. So I say, okay, especially in Puerto Rican style, which we call in France, which is LA style in US, LA and New York style.
Okay.
But if you want to feel very confident as a dancer, you should take classes in a bar. And this is going to sound strange. You'd want to take classes where people after the class stay and keep dancing as a like keep practicing and have a good time. Typically, those
Yeah.
classes most likely are in a bar, not inside of a like a school, like dance school environment where people come in at 4, they leave at
Mm,
5:01. So you're not gonna meet new people because they're leaving, and you're not gonna
yeah.
practice because they're leaving. So I would say
Mm,
take classes in a social environment.
I
Um,
like it.
you're there to dance and be confident. Faking confidence is 100% accepted because you know what? That's what the professionals do. At competition, everybody is faking that they know what's happening. Because when I say faking, I mean because it's a dance. Okay? Your life is mostly not in danger, especially if you're the lead. If you're the
Yeah.
female dancer, then maybe like the position can be hazardous. But yeah, so we're here to have fun. That's the priority. And so as a teacher, it was also my priority. And then on a technical point, really, there's 3 leg movements, like three steps that you need to master. Mambo, which is forward, backward. Cucaracha, which
Mambo.
is sideways, left and right. And then
Mm-hmm.
what we call salsa step, which is backwards and backwards. If you know these as a female dancer, you're good. You can just stop taking classes and go dance. If you
Yeah,
know
yeah,
these
yeah.
as a guy, and you need to know these and maybe 3 different arm movements, and
Okay.
if you master those basics, you can become one of the most amazing dancers from the point of view of the lady who's dancing with you, because she's gonna have a good time because she feels like your movements are clear, which is
Yeah.
super important. And that's more important than technique. So as a guy, I would just practice those basics, and
Mm-hmm.
making the other person like having fun with the other person is more important than technique or anything else. So that's how I taught that class, and it
I
worked.
love it.
So, yeah.
All right. So the second part was how you took 2 lessons from the salsa class and you applied it to your
Yeah.
businesses now.
I would say even 3. I'm sorry, 3 lessons. So
3. Okay.
lesson 1 was about there's a lesson about cost, there's a lesson about marketing, and there's a lesson about what we call retention. So which is marketing to existing customers.
Okay.
I'll start with the lesson about cost. One of the co-founders of Skype, I can't remember his last name. His first name is Jonas. This guy invented a concept that I learned from him and I use in all my businesses since, including the salsa business. And salsa business is the first one where I got it. He called it the rule of 0. And it goes like this. Every line of business has one major cost that is going to be the majority of the expense of running that business. For some businesses, this is human resources. You need, like, you're running Uber Eats. The cost is not the computers, is people delivering the food. That's the
Yeah.
biggest cost. You are running a dance school. The biggest cost is going to be the place, renting the space or buying the space so you can give the classes. And what the rule of 0 says is it is extremely hard to take your biggest cost and reduce it by 5% or 10%. It would help your bottom line a lot, but it's incredibly hard to go negotiate that rent or to underpay your salary, your employees by 10%. They're just going to leave. However, it is often much easier to get this cost to 0. You have to think
Mm,
differently, but you can get this cost
mhm.
to 0. And for the salsa school, it meant instead of having place, could I find a place that exists,
Mhm.
would have me give my classes So I'm still earning the money there. So when I started the salsa classes, I went around to find bars that had a Latin ambiance. And
Yes.
I found a bar and I went there and I said, no, we're really more of a like Hispanic kind of bar. We don't want your salsa classes in here. And then they had just opened, but they didn't want it. And then I found a restaurant that was Cuban themed. And they said, well, yeah, we would love to have you give a class here, like on Wednesdays. It would give some more Cuban vibe to the place. So let's do it. So I'm advertising, I'm getting friends to join. My first, for the first time, so I'm giving a free class and I have like 30 people. I managed to gather 30 people, mostly people I know. So they're not like really, it's like symbolic. It's the first class on a Wednesday evening, and we go to this place, and the restaurant isn't open. Like they decided to not open at night, and they didn't tell me, even though they had agreed for me to be there, and they are like they're
Yeah.
supposed to be open. And so I'm there in front of the place with 30 people, and we have no space to do the class. So I walked them to the bar that said no. And at this
Mm.
point, this bar is empty as hell. There's just one guy. The owner is behind the bar and he's nursing a beer, waiting for someone to order something. And the bar,
Yes.
and I'm showing up and I'm like, I open the door and I'm like, hey, I know you said
Got
you're here. I have 30 people. Would you accept us for at least for one class, right? It's like, he literally, he looked at me, he looked at his bar. He's like, I think we can do that. So I gave the class there. The guy was so happy because, of course, like if you're dancing and you're hot and you're sweating, then you're gonna order some drinks. Salsa dancers don't drink a lot of alcohol, but they still drink like soft
Coke.
drinks and whatever.
Yeah.
So he had the best night of the week. And so he said, you know what? We should do that. How many evenings do you want to come give classes here? And so
Mm.
I was able to have the place, and it was nice. We had some space, we had a nice mirror, and I had this space for free, basically, because he was
Yeah.
getting my clients for free, and I was getting the
Yes.
space for free. And
Right.
over time, we did a thing where when people would sign up for a year with me, they would get a card that gave them like a cocktail every night or something like this. Like we had a deal, like he was paid
Yeah.
a portion of the thing. So it worked great.
Yeah.
So I took that lesson into the company I'm building now. So I'm building a company called OneTake. 3 years ago, I came up with an AI model that edits videos for small
Yeah.
businesses. So you can
Okay.
come up with your raw content and it removes the mistakes, the background noise, it adds the titles, it composes music to go with your video. It does all of the work of a human
Oh,
video editor for you. So you don't have to touch any of that. And when I started the business, I realized, well, if you're starting a video business online, your main costs are going to be computing power, hard drive space because you're hosting videos, which is the
for sure.
largest you could imagine,
Yeah.
and bandwidth because people are uploading big files to us. So that's costly. And then we host the videos. So if you have 1 million people visiting your website, it's going to cost us 1 million streams from our servers to your. And since like our AI translates the content so that when people watch the video, so I'm watching Lee Jones, an American, I'm going to hear you speak English. But if I'm a French person, I'm going to hear Lee Jones speak French. And
Mm.
so that's costly. So when I started the business, one of the first things I did when I wrote the initial spec for the proof of concept was we're going to build this and we have to build this in a way that these costs should be zero. Computing should be zero, bandwidth should be zero, and storage should be zero. And when
Mhm.
I did that, I have several friends that have large companies where they have a CTO and they ask the CTO to consult with me on the spec. And all of these CTOs looked at it and said, I don't know what you're imagining here, but this spec that you just wrote is probably impossible. And actually, I had it built in 4 weeks. So that was, but yeah, it saved us like over the lifetime of the company, it saved us probably hundreds of thousands of dollars thinking of the rule of zero. So that's the first lesson I learned there.
Okay.
Second lesson I learned from the salsa business is
Mhm.
I said a marketing lesson. I had this class and I brought all of my friends. It was the first class. But the first paid class, I had not 30 people, not 20, not 10. I had one student. Like when I did
Yeah.
official first class, I had one student and it was a guy.
Mhm.
So the class was kind of awkward. It's like two dudes. I'm going to teach you how to dance salsa. And maybe I'm
Yeah.
not cut out for this job.
Yeah.
And I was really disheartened because I had expected that, I don't know, I would start off with a full class size.
Yeah. Absolutely.
And when I was a student, I learned salsa from one of the most successful salsa teachers in the west of France, Isham. And
Mhm.
his classes were always full to the brink. So I
Mm-mm-mm.
went to him and I said, well, you encouraged me to start giving those classes, which was great, by the way, because you would think he wouldn't want a competitor. We were in the same city,
Yeah.
but he encouraged
Yeah.
me to go and set up. But I said, my first class had one guy. Like, should I
Yeah.
just give up and do the music thing and the dating thing? And he said something very powerful. He told me, if you have one customer and you make sure that this one customer has the best experience, then next time you're going to have more than one customer.
Mm.
Soon you're going to have classes that are full to the brink, just like mine. But it all starts,
Mhm.
you have to start with one customer at some point.
Yes.
And so I did give the second class. And when I did the second class a week later, this guy came back
Mm.
and he brought a girl. So now I had two students and I had at least one girl, which is much better to do salsa.
Right.
And then I went from 2 to 4, from 4 to 8, and a year later I had 150 students. I was teaching 150 students. There was barely space in the bar. Who owned the bar was the happiest man on earth. He was a Hispanic thing. It became a Latin bar, literally because of
Mm.
those classes. And I took that lesson to heart because when I started OneTake AI, I started before ChatGPT was a thing. I
Mhm.
had the idea in 2021, so 2 years before ChatGPT was 30th of November of 2022.
Mhm.
And so it took some time to build the AI. And then what happened is I'm here selling a solution to a problem that people have, but the solution uses something that sounds like some weird sci-fi from the RoboCop movie. Like you're like, and the computer is smart. People understood software.
Yeah.
Software, you put the video track there, you put the music track, you set the volume, you move things, you cut it out yourself, you figure it out yourself. People understood buttons and clicking. But when I started doing the demos of there's no button, like there's one button. You upload the video and there's a button called magic button. And then everything happens. There's nothing to do. But like, are there like secretly a group of low paid people from third world countries doing the work behind the desk
Mhm.
or something? I'm like, no, it's AI. And nobody understood AI, artificial intelligence, why they should pay for it. Even though the product was, so we were a bit ahead of the time, which
Course.
I think it is still better than being late. So when I launched on 14th of January 2022, I had one person buy the yearly subscription. And I took it hard because I was expecting I had like 100 on day one. I had like one. And then I remembered this first salsa class. I'm like,
Yeah.
well, there's one person that trusted us and she wants to use the tool. She's still with us, by the way. Hi, Michelle, if you're here listening to this podcast. So 3 years, she's still a subscriber. Very happy. She gave us like video testimonials. She's using it to run her business. To me, it also means, when I'm writing email to customers or when we are doing, right now, we're doing like an Instagram challenge for our users of our software. Basically, I write the email to Michelle. I like, with today's tools, you send it to everyone and it says hi, first name, whatever. But I'm actually thinking of her when I'm writing the email because
Right.
I'm like, this is the person that believed in the program. And so many other, we have thousands of businesses right now, a
Yeah.
slight majority of women, which is interesting. So there's probably
Mhm.
more Michelles than Michaels, I guess. But thinking of that one customer that trusted us at the beginning is how in the first year went from 0 to 100 customers,
Yeah.
and then second year from 100 to 400, and then this year we went from 400 to about 3,000. We will probably end the year at 4,000, so 10x in a year.
Beautiful.
And this is still small scale. Right now we're raising a seed round to take the company. Now that we have working product, happy customers, working marketing formula, then we
Mhm.
can do 100x and 1,000x. But it started with one customer, and that's
Yeah.
I learned from doing a salsa class with one dude. So I should say thank you to this guy as well, I guess.
You got one more since we're on a roll. Do you have one more?
Uh, uh, yeah.
I may split this one up into two
So-
episodes. So I appreciate you giving me your time. But did you want to share that third lesson?
Oh yeah. Third lesson. Third lesson was
Yeah.
so back then there were no social media. So Facebook was not a thing yet. I'm talking about 2007. Facebook arrived
Mhm.
in France in 2009. So it was not a thing yet. YouTube was very recently a thing where it came out in 2006 and there were like Dailymotion, like other contenders in the space. I was the first person to figure out, at least in this entire west region of France, that people looking for salsa classes were increasingly not going to look at flyers and the yellow pages and things like that, and they would be on the internet. So what I started to do is I started to use video marketing, so filming excerpts from my classes, just put on all of those video websites, YouTube being the most successful one.
Yeah.
I doing SEO around the videos so that instead of calling the video, which is the name of the Cuban salsa move, that
Yeah.
5 step in, I would call that salsa class in downtown Nantes. And then I would do
Okay.
another one, which would be called Latin dances around Nantes. And I had this huge spreadsheet of keywords, qualifiers, and places. So I did all of those combinations to do all of those videos. But at the time, it was true for the salsa business. It was true for the dating business as well. It's been true in every business at the time that I started it. In an industry that's fairly either a new one or a conservative one, existing people in that industry are very afraid of sharing their expertise for free if that's the thing that they're selling. So salsa teachers don't really want to teach the thing in the video. They want to show you that they dance, but they want to teach the thing. I was giving
Right.
it. And so video marketing to this day is still one of the most powerful things you can do to run business. Giving away parts of the recipe. When I was doing the dating workshops as well, what I did is I had a whole method. So I wrote a book that was my whole method, like 6 steps method in detail. That's what I was teaching in the workshops. I never sold the book because I realized, well, the book is going to sell for $20, but the method in the workshop sell for 2,500. However, my YouTube videos, I did daily YouTube videos. They were each on one aspect of the method. And so in theory, if you had watched the, I don't know, 1,000 videos maybe I put online, you would get a PhD in my methods in terms of equivalence of, you would know it as well as I know it. But the thing is, when you do content marketing, the content is not necessarily in order. And
Absolutely.
nobody has the time to watch the 1,000 videos anyway.
Yeah.
When somebody actually watches the 1,000 videos, I know we all do this. Like sometimes you find creator, an influencer, you find Hindsight, the podcast, and you're like, my God, I love this interview. I hope that there's more. And then you go back and listen to the whole history. As a business owner, what people need to understand, if you're starting a business, is the person that watches one piece of content, that's the best timing for them to buy something afterwards because they found you, they understand that you're the real deal, they know more about why you made the product or the service this way, so they're more qualified lead. The person that listens every week or every day to the content, they are super qualified. So if they become a buyer, they will remain a buyer for super long. and the person
Okay.
actually watches the entire channel from front to back, they're not less likely to buy. They are more likely to buy because this person is so hardcore that if you say, I'm going to do a private retreat for one of my friends did that. He has a tennis instruction website, one of the largest tennis instruction websites in the world. It's called Fuzzy Yellow Balls. And he was selling, he sells lots of instruction content. And people were afraid at the time that him making all of these YouTube videos for free would
Mm,
basically cannibalize his business. But what happened is getting millions of views on those videos actually grew the business.
yeah.
And he had people that were super fans to the point where when he said, I'm going to do, I think it was weekend clinic with the Bryan brothers, who are the best tennis players in the world, he was able to sell that for many thousands of dollars.
Yeah.
And he didn't know if it would be successful at this price point, maybe 10K. And what happened is he had so many super fans that they were like oversold, like it couldn't
Oh,
fit the demand. And I think
yeah.
businesses can be like this. People
Yeah.
underestimate that potential
Nice.
that we have with content
Yeah.
marketing. And so one of the things that we see with OneTake, when I started this business with the AI video editor, I was thinking that people would mostly use it for online courses, like to edit
Mhm.
content that they are going to sell. And this is maybe half of the use that people are doing with our AI.
Okay.
Other half is many businesses in many different fields. Interior designers. One of my favorite ones is Earl. He makes custom perfumes, like bespoke high-end custom perfumes for special occasions. And
Yeah.
he's using OneTake to create marketing videos about his custom
Well,
perfumes.
let's this
Um,
site up.
because there's such a huge potential in being in people's worlds. And one last thing I'll add on this is we are an AI company, but we are a little bit different from the generative AI startups that have popped up in the space in that,
Yeah.
so we use AI to give the business owner or the entrepreneur, to give them superpowers because the AI edits your video. But we don't use AI
Mhm.
to replace the person. A
Mhm.
lot of
Mhm.
generative AI tools, they're like, well, we will generate a synthetic you that is going to give this synthetic class,
Mhm.
synthetic text. And I think people are getting more and more, like the general audience, are not super excited about consuming all of this synthetic content
Yeah.
because the reason why we consume video is typically to get this relationship with the
Yeah.
speaker or
Yep.
the host or the expert because there's
Yeah.
some human experience behind it. And it's not the same having ChatGPT write the text and then having some AI animate a robot face of you to read the text. So we have this stance that is a little bit different from most Gen AI startups.
All right, I love it. Hey, so you really made this easy for me, Sebastian. I mean, I just let you talk, and you like I said this earlier. So one, I appreciate it, but here's the next question: how can the listeners connect with you and learn more about your work?
Best way is, so I was going to say our website. So we have the main website, onetake.ai. However, we
Hmm.
just recently created, so instead of going there, like, which is like purchase our subscriptions and things like that, we recently we put up a new page which is try, TRY, like try.onetake.ai, where people can just like record a video of themselves or upload a video they already have to see what the AI is able to do. And it will
Yeah,
edit it for you and also translate it into another language as well.
yeah,
So I prefer to mention that because people maybe just want to play with it instead of be faced with a payment option. And other than that, right now, we are starting a YouTube and Instagram content as well on just on Take AI because now that we've gotten where we are right now, we want to also restart production of content. I used to create a lot of content to help entrepreneurs on my
yeah.
own personal channels, and now I'm migrating that to YouTube and Instagram for the company. So by the time the podcast airs, they can just look for OneTake AI on YouTube, and they'll find some really cool content there.
Hey, and then I know a great thing because obviously, I'm going to send this data, this file, this MP4 file to you, one take AI, and maybe we can compare what it looks like that I did, what it looks like that you did, and I think people will ultimately be convinced that OneTake AI will probably take it by a landslide. So I'm super excited about that just to see what OneTake would do. But Sebastian Knight, Seduction by Night, Salsa Extraordinaire. Uh, I'm just thinking of all the things you told me. Hey, but thanks for sharing your wisdom and your experiences here on Hindsight the Podcast. Your story is a reminder that with hard work, dedication, and a little bit of courage, anything is possible. And you gave countless examples of you stepping out on faith, stepping out on you, betting on your skills, and also just finding those weak spots, those gaps, and strengthening those up. And I'm all tongue tied because like I was really inspired by the message. So I
Can I
really
say,
appreciate that.
about something that's related to the
Yeah.
same mission of Hindsight the podcast? I think if somebody's listening to us and they're right now in like maybe in a corporate job that they want to leave, or in a their life is structured in a way, because sometimes it happens to entrepreneurs as well, like you get stuck in the business where you started a restaurant, you're cooking there, and you're like, am I the boss or the employee or just like somebody's slave in this restaurant? How is it going? And if
Yeah.
you're feeling that there's a chasm between where you are, where you want to go, and some fear may be there, one of the things that I think is helpful is to realize that you can always find at least one person that believes in you. Sometimes this person is
Mm,
external and can give you the confidence. Sometimes you have to find the confidence inside of you. You can just assume that today Sebastian Knight and Lee Jones are telling you, we believe in you, you can do it. So this is already like you have our vote of confidence. Okay. The one thing that is always amazing is that once you get things moving, this confidence in yourself and from others into you is going
mm,
to snowball. When I started this
mhm.
first business, I was very lucky that my dad said, all right, but still he was thinking in a year, I guess my son is going to go back to his job. But one day, it happened one day with my dad. He was in Paris for a business trip. And I said, come to my workshop. Come sit at the back of the workshop that I'm giving. And he was
Mm.
reticent, but he came there and he sat there for the whole workshop. Everybody was like, who's this older guy? Is he taking classes on how to pick up women or something? And at the end, my dad came to me and said, now I understand what you do. Now I believe in it. So there was a time for my dad. There was a different time for my mom. There was a different time for my best friend who took 3 years to believe that I could make it. But over time, all of those people, like my sister, my best friend, they came later to me and said, can I ask for some advice for launching my own business? Because if you manage, you, the person listening to us, you, the person subscribing to Hindsight the podcast, by the way, you should subscribe. There's a button somewhere. Subscribe. If you can find in yourself the tiny seed of confidence to start getting things moving, you
Yeah.
have no idea how much fruit is going to reap for you, because this seed is going to grow into a beautiful tree. But
Mhm.
how many seeds you're going to plant into other people to believe in
Mm.
themselves and to be like,
Ain't that something?
well, Jason or Maria or Diego did it, and he had everyone against him or her, including myself, and they still did it, then maybe I can make a chance too. So you owe it to them as well. Do it for you, but know that it's
Yeah.
going to help so many people as well. And I'm so happy to have been on your podcast, B. Jones, because of thinking of how many seeds this podcast can plant in other people. I'm not talking about just my episode, I'm talking about the work that you're doing.
Mhm.
This is beautiful work that you're doing here. And I just hope that you get some of those listeners to email back and comment and tell you their stories, because this is the transformation of a lifetime. And I hope many people take it.
Wow. Thank you so much, Sebastian Knight. I definitely appreciate the endorsement, and I echo his sentiments. Just get going, get your mind right. I did 26 years in the army, and that was one of my famous things I used to say to my soldiers. Get your mind right. Right. So I'll leave it at that. I'll tell that story another time. But also for the listeners, be sure he's already told you, subscribe to Hindsight the Podcast for more inspiring interviews and practical advice. And until next time, remember your journey is unique And with the right mindset and tools, you're destined to be who you are meant to be. All right. Thanks again. Hey, thanks for joining me here on Hindsight the Podcast. I'm your host, Lee Jones. I hope you enjoyed this episode. I know I did. And while I have you here, why don't you take your mouse, go over and click on that subscribe button? No, not right there. Over to the right. No, down, right there. Boom. Thank you. Now, thank you for subscribing to Hindsight the Podcast. I'm your host, Lee Jones.